Daily Words of God. It can be said that all of today's utterances prophesy future matters. These utterances are how God makes arrangements for the next step of His work. God has almost finished His work in the people of the church, and afterward He shall appear before all people with rage. As God says, "I shall make the people on earth acknowledge my doings, and my deeds shall be proven before the judgment seat, so that they may be acknowledged among people across the earth, who all shall yield." Did you see anything in these words? In this is the summary of the next part of God's work. First, God shall make all the guard dogs who wield political power sincerely convinced, and He shall make them step back from the stage of history of their own accord, never again to fight for status, and never again to engage in schemes and intrigue. This work must be carried out through God, by raising up various disasters on earth. But it is not at all the case that God will appear. At this time, the nation of the great red dragon shall still be a land of filth, and therefore God will not appear, but will merely emerge through chastisement. Such is the righteous disposition of God, from which none can escape. During this time, all who inhabit the nation of the great red dragon will suffer calamity, which naturally also includes the kingdom on earth. This is the very time when the facts come forth, and so it is experienced by all people, and none can escape. This has been predestined by God. It is precisely because of this step of work that God says, "Now is the time to carry out grand plans." Because in the future, there will be no church on earth, and due to the advent of catastrophe, people will only be capable of thinking about what is in front of them, and will neglect everything else, and it will be difficult for them to enjoy God amidst catastrophe. Thus, people are asked to love God with all their heart during this wonderful time, so that they do not miss the chance. When this fact passes, God will have utterly defeated the great red dragon, and thus the work of testimony of the people of God will have come to an end. Afterward, God will commence the next step of work, laying waste to the country of the great red dragon, and ultimately nailing people throughout the universe upside down on the cross, after which He shall annihilate all mankind. These are the future steps of God's work. Thus, you should seek to do your best to love God in this peaceful environment. In the future, you will have no more opportunities to love God, for people only have the opportunity to love God in the flesh. When they live in another world, no one will talk of loving God. Is this not the responsibility of a created being? And so, how should you love God during the days of your lives? Have you ever thought of this? Are you waiting until after you die to love God? Is this not empty talk? Today, why do you not pursue loving God? Can loving God while remaining busy be true love for God? The reason why it is said that this step of God's work shall soon come to an end is because God already has testimony before Satan. Thus, there is no need for man to do anything. Man is merely asked to pursue loving God in the years he is alive. This is the key. Because God's requirements are not high, and furthermore, because there is a burning anxiety in his heart, he has revealed a summary of the next step of work before this step of work has finished, which clearly shows how much time there is. If God were not anxious in his heart, would he speak these words so early? It is because time is short that God works in this way. It is hoped that you can love God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your strength, just as you cherish your own life. Is this not a life of the utmost meaning? Where else could you find the meaning of life? Are you not being so blind? Are you willing to love God? Is God worthy of man's love? Are people worthy of man's adoration? So, what should you do? Love God boldly, without reservations, and see what God will do to you. See if he will slay you. In sum, the task of loving God is more important than copying and writing things down for God. You should give first place to what is most important, so that your life may have more value and be full of happiness, and then you should wait for God's sentence for you. I wonder if your plan will include loving God. I wish for everyone's plans to become that which is completed by God, and that they all become reality.